With the power of fighting spirit and a relentless love of video games, we will get through this episode of the Glitch Report podcast. My name is GnittWitt. Thank you so much for joining me on the show. Episode 144. And I gotta be honest, I need that fighting spirit. I'll share, like, I'm more than happy to share some of that fighting spirit with you, but I need it for a variety of reasons. First and foremost, I am tired. I am pooped. I am beat. And it is only 10 o'clock in the morning, and I'm already willing to just call it quits and go back to bed. There was a fire alarm in the apartment building at around 3 o'clock, and it went for, I don't know, 20 minutes ish, give or take. Long enough for me to be like, oh, I'm going to die. But also long enough where I was like, maybe I shouldn't go back to sleep. It was one of the things, like, you hear it and you're like, it's fine. Then you're like, oh, that's actually the thing that I think it is. That isn't a goddamn fire alarm. And I wasn't too sure. Like, it was, it was colder in the morning. It was colder in the morning. And I thought to myself, if I do have to go outside and stand outside, do I want to freeze my entire ass off? So I ended up, like, kind of getting dressed and then just standing around, looking over my balcony, poking my head into the hallway of the apartment and then, like, other members of the family were like, oh, is there smoke in the staircase? What's going on? And turns out that everything is fine. There was, I believe, a fire in the parkade, which is, I'm far away from the parkade, but that's obvious. I'm not trying to be like, oh, I would have been fine. That's just, a potential scenario where, it's not like someone was cooking food at 3 in the morning, a candle at 3 in the morning, whatever was going on. So I am beat from that. Like, the quality of sleep was not great because I maybe got like a few hours sleep. Probably went to bed around midnight. So I got like a few hours sleep, then woke up like wide awake, and then, got another few hours of sleep. So here we are, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed as it's going to get, to talk about video games. The other thing is, if I sound funny, if I don't sound 100%, and that may be because this throat of mine is a tad sore. It's got a little tickle in it. I don't quite know. I've been sucking on that Fisherman's Friend. I have been shoving Fisherman's Friend into my mouth for the last, I would say, like, last 24 hours or so, last maybe 48 hours. And like Eddie Murphy and Nick Nolte, I suspect that it might go for another 48 hours if I had to guess. But anyways, like, I'm doing okay. I'm very happy to be here doing this, talking with you about video games. We got video game news out the wazoo. I wasn't even, like, sure how to format all the stuff we're going to talk about today on the show. And it's not just about, like, gaming news. I mean, that is the reason we're here, is to stay up to date on current events. But the other thing is, I've been playing games. I have been playing Doom: The Dark Ages. I've been playing Expedition 33. And yes, I have been playing a whole hell of a lot of Fortnite. And we'll talk about that maybe a little bit later on the show. But I spent some money in Fortnite. I'll admit that right here, right now. I spent a little bit of money in Fortnite. I don't know how long my kind of, experience with Fortnite. I don't know how long my experience with Fortnite is going to last, in the sense that, I bought the Battle Pass. In fact, I actually subscribed to their Fortnite Crew subscription. Their Fortnite Crew subscription is like $16 a month. You get access to every battle pass in the game. And if you don't subscribe next time, that's okay. You will keep everything that you unlocked So, it's this idea of like, okay, I'll pay $16 every time a new battle pass comes out. And if I play enough of the game to, grind it out, I might be able to skip a month depending on when releases come out and when new seasons start and stuff like that. So if you're wondering if I'm well on my way to unlocking Emperor Palpatine so that I could run around as the Emperor with a shotgun, Rucker Hauer is Emperor with a shotgun. I'm almost there. I almost bought Darth Jar Jar Binks. Listen to yourself, man. What you listen, grow up. Smarten up. You're a 30-year-old man with a video game podcast talking about Darth Jar Jar Binks. Like, smarten up. Grow up. Get it together. And let's get it together right now and kick things off talking about news. I feel like the longer I rant and rave, the worse my throat may become. But until then, we're going to go until the wheels fall off, just like Tony Hawk said. This is maybe not the biggest, craziest breaking news story, but I wanted to talk about this because it feels like an inevitability for a lot of games. The approach to this inevitability in this instance, we'll talk about in just a moment, this instance feels like incredibly poor taste. So you kind of look at where things are at and you think to yourself, wow, this seems like a bad way to talk about this. This seems like a bad way to remind people that things are only going to get more expensive and never going to get better, and we're in the bad times and it's worse and the bad guys won. But here we are. Here's the headline. This is from Eurogamer, and it says $80 for Borderlands 4 too costly. Randy Pitchford says, if you're a real fan, you'll find a way to make it happen. Kind of talking about this idea that, especially in the United States, video games are looking at $80 minimum for, excuse me. In the United States, $80 is kind of the new price point for a lot of AAA games, and even some non-AAA games get that $80 price point. And we've known about this for a long time. I, as a Canadian, it's been a minute since I bought an $80 game, because most of my games are like $90. Like, I'm pretty sure Diablo 4, when I bought Diablo 4, was like $100 after tax. So I've been there. I've been there. So, for me, looking at this, I'm like, oh, like, games have been fucked pricing wise, especially because of weak Canadian dollar for a long time now. But for people like America, where I'm assuming they believe they're the center of the world, the idea of getting that, increase to $80 US, it probably means the sky is falling. Now, this article that I'm referencing has a little bit of editorializing from the writer, but long story short, I don't know if they've actually given the price on Borderlands 4, which maybe is something I should look up right now. I'm going to type in Borderlands 4 into Amazon, where there is no price point. So on Amazon, I can't even buy Borderlands 4 if I wanted to. Pre-order it if I wanted to. The worst part about all of this is that Randy Pitchford actually has some decent points. It's just that he's such a fucking unlikable piece of garbage, in my humble opinion, that it's hard to agree with him. But here we are. Somebody on social media told Randy Pitchford. Randy Pitchford, if you don't know, is the boss of Gearbox. Randy Pitchford, a magician, a scumbag, a dirtbag, a lot of things, but he is the boss of Gearbox. Gearbox, the studio working on Borderlands 4. Randy Pitchford has been with Gearbox forever. And that's what you need to kind of know here in terms of, like, he's kind of, because he's such a character, he has really put himself out there as the face of the company. The problem is that the face that Gearbox has is so ugly that it becomes a scenario where it's like, how do you separate the art from the artist, right? How do you appreciate what the Borderlands games are, what the Gearbox games are, in a scenario where some of the money you're giving to these games goes to Randy Pitchford? But let me just get to what he said. I think I've kind of covered enough ground here. Someone on social media said, Randy, Borderlands 4 better not be $80. Don't take that risk. A lot of gamers aren't going to pay $80 and feed this notion of constant increases of the price tag. You are the CEO. You have some way with the price when it comes to your publisher. Randy Pitchford, on the other hand, said, not my call. If you're a real fan, you're going to find a way to make it happen. My local game store had Starflight for Sega Genesis for $80 in 1991 when I was just out of high school, working minimum wage at an ice cream parlor in Pismo Beach, and I found a way to make it happen. One of the big problems I have with people talking about game prices being what they are now in comparison to what they were back then. Yes, 1,000%. There were Sega Genesis games and Super Nintendo games and all of this stuff that were $70, $80 in the 90s and maybe early 80s or late 80s and shit like that. I get it. The problem is that you weren't putting 70% of your paycheck towards rent each month. Like, that's where I think people are. It's not so much that people are upset about individual things costing more money. People are upset that everything costs more money, and the thing that has rapidly gone up in price is the stuff that you cannot afford not to buy. You can't afford to not have a roof over your head. You can't afford to not have groceries, right? Heating, electricity, shit like that, right? Like, when you look at the prices of games, like, that is a treat. That is a hobby that is it's a blessing to be able to play video games, afford video games, buy video games. Unfortunately, like, this is so tone deaf in a world where people live paycheck to paycheck. They have mortgages that are have fucked, interest rates with their mortgage. You have rent that is fucking out of control. Your wages and your wage increase probably hasn't reflected just those price increases in some time, on top of everything else that inflation has touched. So I'm not here to say that, these games should not be priced accordingly, right? I think the one problem people have with a game going up in price is that they're still rotten with microtransactions and additional purchases and extra paid content. It's like, motherfucker, Randy Pitchford, I gave you $80 and you didn't even give me what I feel like is a full version of the game. Now, in fairness, regardless of what you think of Borderlands, in my opinion, those games at launch have mostly been a complete experience. I don't feel like they're particularly lacking, in the DLC and the expansions that they sell. While, here's the thing with like DLC and expansions is like, okay, let's say you spend $80 on Borderlands, and then they have an expansion that's like $30. Is that $30 really worth that additional content when you could instead, scrounge up, another $30, another $40, whatever, and maybe get a full game that might last you as long as Borderlands 4 originally did? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a hard judgment call to make, and I just hate this idea of a person of privilege like Randy Pitchford being so fucking tone deaf. Fucking Randy Pitchford, tell me, what was your rent in 1991? What was your rent? What percentage of your paycheck went towards rent in 1991? No one ever talks about that. No one ever talks about that because they have this fucking like make America great again fucking rose colored tinted glasses thing of like what the you know the current state of the world looks like and how easy it is to go back to the good old days. Those good old days are long and gone because the thing that people need the most is fucking shelter, and the price on housing and rent is so disgusting. It will never come down. It will only get worse. And people like Randy Pitchford fail to recognize that when they talk about their industry being ripe for a price increase to justify everything else that's gone up in price. If anything, you know, Randy Pitchford should say, hey, if this game ends up being $80, you know, I want you to have a great experience. We've worked hard to make Borderlands 4 the best that it can be. You know, maybe he could spend that time talking about like, oh, and, you know, we have plans in place, or we're thinking about plans for future updates, you know, free updates to the game, maybe some paid content that will really add value for people that are buying it $80 at launch. Because now I'm just sitting here thinking, well, if I buy this game, maybe I should wait till it's like half off. Like maybe I should just wait until this game is at a significant discount because of how out of touch the person helming that studio is. That's my opinion, right? You know, other people kind of, you know, flamed Randy Pitchford saying, you know, thanks, now I won't buy the game even if it costs $70. Another person wrote, like, this has to be one of the worst CEO replies from recent memory. Someone else called Randy Pitchford elitist and out of touch, saying, rich person says just find the money. That's all the things I said, but, you know, you have to couch it in what else people are spending their money on to make something like Borderlands being $80 seem like a worse and worse deal. As a reminder, Borderlands 4 is coming out on PC, PS5, Xbox Series X and S September 12th. Take-Two announced that it was bringing the release date forward. We don't currently have a price for Borderlands 4. I'm going to check Steam right now. But I'll even just type in Borderlands 4 into the Google. You can type Borderlands 4 into Google, see what we get. Fucking type in your name into the internet or website into the age, whatever. Okay, there's no price on Steam at the moment. There is no price on their website. So, hey, there is a chance that this game's going to be $80 US, but we won't find out until later. Randy Pitchford then tried to justify his comments. These comments are coming from Video Games Chronicles, as always. Shout out to Video Games Chronicles. During a Q&A, he said, if you want the truth, here it is. He says he doesn't know what the game will cost, and that is the truth. He then explained that while it's important to make sure games are priced properly, the increased cost of game development and manufacturing are creating an issue where game increases have to be considered. He says, and it's an interesting time, right? On one level, we've got a competitive marketplace where people want to, or the other people that make those choices want to, sell as many units as possible. And they want to be careful about the price. They want to be careful about people that are price sensitive. So here's some folks that don't want to see prices go up, even the ones deciding what the prices are. There's other folks accepting the reality that game budgets are increasing, and there's tariffs for the retail packaging, and it's gnarly out there, you guys. Borderlands 4 has more than twice the development budget than Borderlands 3, more than twice. So the truth is, I don't know what the price is going to be. I do know that we'll be opening pre-order soon, and that will be when the price is set. Pitchford then went on to keep talking, something that he should stop doing. He then goes on to say, I think that Borderlands 4, here's the philosophy we have. Whatever the price is, we're entertainers. Yes, we want more resources so we can make bigger and better games. There's a reason why Borderlands 4 is so awesome. It's because you guys showed up and supported Borderlands 3, and we had that budget so we could do more than double the budget. Feel confident in that, and that's awesome. When the revenue comes in, we can spend it to make bigger games and better games. As artists, we want everybody to have it. We want to make it as easy as possible for everybody to enjoy what we're creating. So it's a weird thing, but the fundamental philosophy is we want people to buy it so we have the resources to make more. And we want everyone who buys and plays a Gearbox game to feel certain that they got the better end of the bargain, whatever the price is, that they got the best value. And that's the philosophy that we live by. And so we're going to have a price set soon, and it might be the new price that like Nintendo and Microsoft have led with. It might be that we stay back. It's going to be the people at the publishing house that decide that. He then went on to say, quote, "And if it's cheaper, then maybe you'll sell that mini map you guys want, but we'll develop later. How bad do you want that? $10? I don't know. I'm just kidding. Or am I?" He's making a joke about the fact that they've changed the way the map system works in Borderlands 4. In Borderlands 3 and other games, you had a mini map up at the top of your screen that you could read and follow whenever you wanted. You can always open up a bigger map as well if you need to see a larger lay of the land. In Borderlands 4, they've replaced the mini map with a compass system. And if you want the map, you have to open it up in the pause menu or whatever to do that. So now he's joking about the idea of selling the mini map for $10, which is not the worst joke. I just think he shouldn't have said it in a world where people were already not super stoked about everything else going on. I don't like Randy Pitchford. I think he's kind of gross. I think he's kind of slimy. I've never met the man. But every time he says something, even when I agree with him, it becomes a scenario where it's like, God, I wish anybody else could just speak on behalf of this company, speak on behalf of Borderlands, the games, and whatever. Like, get the guy who's running Take-Two, like Strauss Zelnick, whatever the hell his name is. Get the guy who was talking about Grand Theft Auto 6 getting delayed and all this stuff. Like, have him come out there and talk about Borderlands 4, because even though he is an even bigger, elitist, rich guy CEO, he at least is smart enough to keep his mouth shut and choose his words carefully when it comes to talking about the pricing of games, the release of games, so on and so forth. Jesus Christ. All right, well, let's talk about Avowed. Let's talk about Avowed, Obsidian's first-person RPG that came out earlier this year in February. We now have some new information about the future of Avowed. They are working on a update roadmap. So same with what Assassin's Creed Shadows, we talked about Assassin's Creed Shadows just last week. Assassin's Creed Shadows has their update roadmap. Avowed has one as well. It's a little different in terms of what you can expect. You know, is there going to be additional paid content, free content, all that stuff? I'm going to try to break that down for you right here, right now. But what we have is, I can open this and maybe zoom. Okay. So what I have for you is the roadmap for Avowed. They just did their spring 2025 update. They have 3 updates planned. They have the spring update, the summer update, and the fall update. And I suspect that the reason they're going to do an update all the way to fall is because I bet Avowed comes out sometime in the fall on PlayStation. I think they want to get these updates out and then say, hey, you can get the complete version of Avowed with all the free updates now on PlayStation. But here we go. So for their spring 2025 update, that's out now, they have a new arachnophobia safe mode. So for those that have a fear of spiders, they have a new mode for you that you can enable that prevents you from seeing spiders or whatever the hell. Mouse and keyboard support for Xbox. The Fog of War has been improved. You are getting more gold and crafting materials. Soul pods will now dispel illusions, and you are also getting unique gear improvements. That's out now. In the summer, no date, they just said summer, there's going to be cooking and crafting improvements. There's going to be new NPC abilities and behaviors, new active and passive abilities for your character, new unique weapons and armor, as well as custom map markers. So this idea, you can open up the map and you can put little icons on the map, kind of making up your own ledger key as you go along, being like, oh, I found this cave here. It's not marked on the map traditionally, but I'm going to put a pin here that says, this is where this cave is if I want to return to it, yada, yada. That's for summer. For fall, they are going to introduce New Game Plus. So this idea that you can play through the game and then carry over all your weapons and, well, I don't know if it's weapons, but the idea is that you would carry over a lot of your character stuff from the original game to New Game Plus. Photo mode is coming to Avowed in their fall update. You're also going to get new weapon types, the ability to change appearance in the world. You're also going to get new character presets. So if you're making a new character or you're starting a new game, you will be able to pick different default characters if you don't want to customize it. And then finally for fall, you're also going to get the new godlike feature presets. The character that you play in Avowed is referred to as godlike. They have been touched, blessed, influenced by the gods. And as such, even if you're a human, your character looks a little different. You have stuff like little like weird gills and flowers coming out of your head and face and all this other stuff and weird hairlines and all of that stuff. But basically, Obsidian is going to keep updating Avowed at least up until fall of this year. There was a blog post that said, we want to take a moment to thank you for your continued reports, feedback, and suggestions. Your insight helped shape Avowed, and we're incredibly grateful for the time you've taken to share your experience with us. We can't wait to show you what's next. Now, this is an interesting thing for me because I played a little bit of Avowed and I bounced off Avowed when I played it earlier this year. Whereas I played through all of Assassin's Creed Shadows and I don't know if their updates are going to be enough to get me back to the game. But in the case of something like Avowed, if I were to say wait until fall, maybe I could start that game from scratch, just, make a whole new character and finally give that game maybe the proper chance that it deserved when I originally tried to play it. Like, that's kind of what I'm thinking is like, oh, do I bother to make a attempt to just play through the game now and just play through the game with the updates as they come? Or do I make that conscious effort to wait to play the game? This kind of goes back to my argument of like, when is the right time to play some of these games, right? You think about my experience with Cyberpunk. Really disliked it early on, shortly after it came out. And it wasn't until like years and years later that they updated it, improved it. They added the expansion pack and all of the stuff that I felt like, man, not only is this a better game than what it was when I last played it, but it is genuinely a great game at this point. It's just one of those things where, when is the right time to play one of these games? And I think my argument is always going to be two things. What's the price of the game? If it came out 6 months ago, what's the price? If it came out 6 months ago, are they still updating it? Or have they announced that there's no longer going to be any more updates for the game? If they are updating it still, when do they expect those updates to be completed? You need to take a lot of that stuff into consideration because, to me, I think a game is worth buying when it offers you everything that you want at a price that you can agree on. Don't buy a game in the hopes that it will get better. Don't buy a game thinking, oh, I heard they're going to put out an update in 4 weeks that's going to add new stuff or fix this or change that or whatever. Don't, right? Give them the money when they have given you a promise that the game is currently in a state that you want to play it in at a price that you want to pay. Right? You think about the changes that have happened with Baldur's Gate 3, right? That game was in early access. That was in a genuinely unfinished state. It was a good state. People liked it, whatever, but it was in an unfinished state. The game then went on to enter full release, and then it continued to receive free updates and improvements. I'm not sitting here and telling you that free updates and improvements are bad. They're not. It is a good thing that Obsidian is committing to Avowed to add new things to the game. And there are plenty of people that say Avowed is a good game on its own as it is, even without these updates. Again, sort of an icing on the cake scenario, a cherry on top, so to speak. But you have to keep in mind that if you are buying this game, there's a potential for you to have a better experience, 4 months from now. Are you still going to be playing Avowed 4 months from now to even notice the changes that have been added to these improvements? It's hard to say. What if other games come out in the fall, when this final update presumably comes out, and then you're left wondering, well, shit, maybe I should have just played it when there was not as much to play during the spring, or I had summer off, or I was doing this, or I was on vacation. I had time to commit to Avowed and I didn't. Like, that's kind of, a lot of things are going to change for a lot of people as these games continue to receive updates and releases. It is objectively a good thing that these games receive updates, but it becomes a balancing act for the people making it to be like, well, are people going to buy this game now knowing they have these additional abilities and upgrades and stuff that we're working on? And how many of those people are going to return to the game to play it? And what if they do all these updates and then a bunch of people come back and they're like, oh, you need to do this, this, and this, but they don't have the time and ability to do so. Like, it's a balancing act. It's tricky. I love it. I love that they're doing this, but I have to really sit there and think, like, when is the right time for me to try Avowed again? And right now, I'm leaning towards the fall, but so many video games could come out in the fall and winter time that I don't get around to Avowed. But who knows? And who knows what's going on at Bungie? Bungie working on Marathon. The current state of Bungie has reportedly been pretty rough. It's been pretty rough as of late, for a variety of reasons. For a variety of reasons. First and foremost, there was stolen art assets from an external artist that made their way into Marathon without their consent. So Bungie's working on Marathon. The studio was forced to admit that an external artist's work has been used in the game without their consent. Now, this is coming from Forbes. This is actually an article from Forbes. There's a lot to go off of, but let's just kind of cover this. The morale at Bungie is currently in a free fall. Like, people are not happy about working at Bungie, the state of Bungie. They're not happy about the state of Marathon. There's a lot of negativity right now swirling around in Bungie. It's not just that an artist's work from 2017 was ripped off and implemented into Marathon without their consent. The other thing to note is that Marathon did its closed alpha testing for people to play it and received mostly mixed to negative feedback. So you got the art plagiarism. Then you also have to talk about the feedback on the game itself. And it seems like people are just not happy with the state of the game. People are just not happy with the state of Bungie. And even the people at Bungie do not seem particularly happy about what's going on. So I got a kind of a bullet point list from Forbes I want to run down. This is from somebody at Forbes who spoke with current and former Bungie employees. Them kind of talking about the art theft, studio morale, the possibility of delay, and potentially other real changes. Here's what they learned. The public explanation for art theft is the same one given to Bungie employees. Like, they said the same thing they told the public is the same thing that they told studio staff. They didn't say anything different. There was no more explanation or clarity provided. Sony and Bungie's legal team are now sorting through this, and there is unlikely to be any new information as of what's continuing. It's not clear how long this audit will take to see if there's any other assets that need to be removed for plagiarism. But it is an expansive enough process to have Bungie not show any new footage of the game during a recent live stream. They talked about Bungie, but they did not show anything in the game because they do not want to showcase any other art that has been plagiarized. Morale is currently in a free fall across all departments. Quote, "The vibes have never been worse. Everyone has the same concerns about what happens to Bungie as a studio if Marathon bombs, which is something they absolutely cannot afford. There are not even hints or jokes about a delay from the September release date internally. With that said, it is entirely possible, if not likely, those conversations are happening privately between higher-ups at Sony and Bungie leadership. It's unclear what the plan is to launch the game in a now actively hostile environment just a few months from now, or how to turn that around." Now, there have been some changes to future plans that have been made even before this plagiarism took place, mainly as a reaction to the gameplay footage and the closed alpha that some people got to play. At the start of this month, Bungie pulled the plug on its main Marathon marketing plan, which was going to have a trailer in June along with launch of pre-orders. That whole marketing campaign needs to be reworked now. A heavily marketed public beta in August may be changed into a roadmap of public playtests with no actual detail set yet. This would align with Bungie's stated multiple opportunities to play before launch rather than just the upcoming beta. The idea being that they want people to have as much of a chance to play the game for free as part of their testing prior to launching the game. The problem with that, I'm going to get to that in a moment, but there's a problem with that, the potential problem with that line of thinking. The final thing is, Marathon was originally pitched by the higher up good old boy Bungie leadership, and as far back as 5 years ago, developers were telling them what would and what wouldn't work and were often ignored. Many have said previously that it needed to have some sort of player versus environment component. Finally, in the Forbes article, all of this between necessary asset auditing, a reworked marketing campaign, and shifting playtest plans screams of a game that is not coming out in 4 months, or at the very least shouldn't be, though there are no indications of that yet. However, at this point, it may be the case that another 3, 6, 12 months would not fix what ails the game, which is more than just the presentation and some playtesting. But for many, it's questionable core concept wrapped in extremely cool aesthetics. Basically saying it's a decent idea. Sorry, it's a questionable idea wrapped in a cool look. So here's the problem. It costs money to make bigger and more public playtests, right? They get to save a little bit of money on server costs and customer support and resources when the game is in a closed alpha state. This is why, so you might hear people talk about beta and alpha. And to be honest, like the term alpha is basically a state that the game is in prior to it being in a beta state. It is a more solidified state of the game in beta compared to alpha. The term closed or open basically means, are you able to play the game just by loading it up, or do you need to request access to the game prior to getting a chance to play it? Closed alpha, you gotta ask them to play it first. But with these, whether it's an open alpha or an open beta or whatever, a play test, an early access period, the more you let people play the game, the more it costs to do so, which means that you should have the game itself in a much more solidified, solid state prior to giving those people that access. Which means that Bungie would need to keep working on this game and getting it to a point where it's ready to launch in order to let those people in. And they may be avoiding a scenario where more people get a chance to play it and more people come from it saying, well, this game's not ready. This game's not good. This game stinks. Why do I have to always fight human beings? Why do I have to do this in the game? Like, why is this game the way it is? They don't want that. Which is why kind of Forbes article ends with, you could give it another 3, 6, 12 months. It may not fix what's the problem with Marathon. It may be that this core concept of Marathon being an extraction shooter, multiplayer only game in a world where those types of games have not really landed in a broad public sense, this game may not work. Like, you could polish it up to be as good as it can be. It may not be what Bungie fans want, what Sony and Bungie need it to be. Right? You can put all your hopes and dreams and polishing into Marathon. It might not do what it needs to do, which is why people are wondering, do we cancel Marathon? Do we completely rework Marathon, or do we polish what we have over an appropriate period of time, whether the game gets delayed or not, to make it what we want it to be without changing what it is? Man, that's a tough nut to crack, no matter how you slice it. Right? To me, Marathon doesn't seem like a game that I want to play. They could put out an open beta and I would probably play it, and I would probably come back to you being like, yeah, it turns out this game that didn't seem interesting at all since its inception did not interest me one bit when I got a chance to play it. Now, hey, I would love to be wrong. I would love to come back and say, hey, Marathon's shaping up to be one of the greatest games of 2025. You know, fuck the haters, whatever. But as someone who played the Concord beta, came back and said, hey, you know, this game is okay, but it's not amazing, and I don't know how it's going to do, and then it went on to fucking do nothing. That's a very real scenario for Bungie with Marathon now. Call me crazy, but there is a chance that this game is doomed in a variety of ways. Speaking of doomed, Sony has confirmed that it is ending its PlayStation Stars loyalty program. Players will be able to use the service until late next year. Starting today, PlayStation Stars will no longer accept new members, and the program will fully end on November 2nd of 2026. Current PlayStation Stars can continue to redeem points until that date. However, the ability to earn digital collectibles, points, and level up your status will end July 23rd of this year. Since launching the program, we've learned a lot from evaluating the types of activities our players respond best to, and as a company, we are always evolving with our player and industry trends. Through this evolution, we have decided to refocus our efforts and will be winding down the current version of PlayStation Stars. We will continue to evaluate our key findings from this program and are looking into ways to build upon these learnings. That's from Grace Chen over at PlayStation. PlayStation Stars launched in late 2022 via the PlayStation app. At the time, Sony said it planned to expand the service to consoles at a later date. By joining PlayStation Stars, you can use your gaming skills to collect unique digital collectibles and earn rewards. Complete campaigns, earn points, and show off your collectibles in a digital display case on PlayStation app as a way of celebrating your love of play and PlayStation experiences. I believe this is also where you could earn free games that were kind of on a rotating list. You could earn gift cards you could spend on the PlayStation Store. I don't really know what they're going to do. Like, I don't really know if they're going to bring back a loyalty program, a loyalty plan or not. The cynic in me says that since PlayStation is leading the charge and beating Xbox at least 2-1 in console sales, the cynic in me says that Sony doesn't give a fuck how loyal you are. Sony doesn't give an ounce of a shit how loyal you are. If you are spending money on PlayStation, spending money on Sony, they think that's all that you get. That you don't get to earn a little 2% cash back, whatever point system bullshit scheme they got. I don't think so. The cynic in me says, I don't think Sony cares. I think Sony was like, we're giving people away like free money for the PlayStation Store for playing a game for 1,000 hours or whatever. Fuck that. We're not going to give you any more points just because you bought some games on our digital store. If you want to buy games on our digital store, you're going to buy games on our digital store. And if you want a discount perk bonus, you can pay for PlayStation Plus and get a discount on games through that. Otherwise, fuck off. That's what the cynic in me says. But I don't know. There's every possibility that they want to rework this program to, better accompany people that are buying consoles or playing the games themselves. It's hard to say. But here's what you need to know. The program ends November 2nd of 2026, and the last time you'll be able to earn points is July 23rd of this year. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we got more news. Stick around. We will be right back. Welcome back to the Glitch Report podcast. We're going to talk news. I mean, we were talking news originally, but we got a lot more news to get to. Cyberpunk 2077, Stellar Blade 2, maybe. Neil Druckmann, a second unannounced Naughty Dog game. Gamescom. Let's go. Roman Reigns is in the news. Roman Reigns, the tribal chief. We'll acknowledge him in just a moment. Let's talk Cyberpunk 2077. So they are kind of out there talking about what you can expect from a sequel to Cyberpunk 2077. And Cyberpunk 2077 is slated to feature a second city and a second open world city in the game that feels like Chicago gone wrong. And if current Chicago is Chicago done right, then I don't know what that means. No, but Mike Pondsmith, the creator of the Cyberpunk brand, has revealed that CD Projekt's upcoming sequel is... there's a fly in this room. There's like a little tiny fruit fly. This motherfucker. I feel like that fucking episode of Breaking Bad. So if I just totally freak out and move my face, it's because a fly has somehow buzzed into my direction. Like a tiny fly in this room. Anyways, it worked out so great for the folks in Breaking Bad. Mike Pondsmith has revealed that he is not involved with the second game to the same degree he was when they were developing the original game. But he is keeping track of its progress. The game designer went on to claim that the sequel will feature Night City, the city from the original game, as well as a second unspecified location. He said, "I'm not as involved directly, but I see the scripts." He said, "Last week I was wandering around talking to different departments and seeing what they had. This is the new cyberware. What do you think? I love the idea of the guy who originally created the Cyberpunk brand, the property, just wandering around the studio, just shooting the shit with people, being like, oh, what are you working on? Oh, you're working on art? while you're working on the new cyberware mechanics. So that's cool. He said, I spent a lot of time talking to one of the environment guys, and he was explaining how the place, because there's another city that we visit, and I'm not telling you any more than that, but there's another city that we visit. Night City is still there. He continued, I remember looking at it and going, I understand the feel you're getting for this really does work. It doesn't feel like Blade Runner. It feels more like Chicago gone wrong. And I said, yeah, I can see this working. I love the idea that, Pondsmith is just wandering around CD Projekt, just giving thumbs up to everybody. But anyways, the idea is that they're going to make a second Cyberpunk 2077 game. They are going to introduce a new city that you can explore, play around in on top of Night City. I imagine Night City will be able to be done a little bit differently, but it's hard to say. But rumors are, according to the guy who created Cyberpunk, that is not as directly involved in the new game, that they're going to get another city into the sequel. Speaking of sequels, Stellar Blade 2 could be happening, and it could be happening sooner than expected. The developer Shift Up confirms it's working on a sequel with a seemingly fast turnaround time. In the company's latest financial results, it included a graph showing its future plans. Between 2024 and 2027, it lists Stellar Blade's platform expansion and sequel on that graph. Now, assuming the platform expansion refers to the PC version, that would suggest that Stellar Blade 2 could release as soon as next year, which is a rather unprecedented turnaround time for a modern AAA game, considering Stellar Blade just came out last year, and we could get a sequel in like 2 years' time. That's pretty crazy. Now, Shift Up is also working on another unannounced game referred to as Project Witches, which could be an urban sci-fi action RPG. The company was previously said to be working on that. Stellar Blade was released on PlayStation 5 last year. Shift Up claimed that the game's sales have exceeded 1 million units worldwide. And if you want to check out the PC version, that's coming out June 11th. Neil Druckmann. You might know him as one of the creative directors of The Last of Us, The Last of Us Part 2, Uncharted 4, A Thief's End. You might also know him as a man who is working on Intergalactic, which they showed off very briefly at the Game Awards last year. Well, reportedly, Neil Druckmann is working on a second unannounced game at Naughty Dog. Now, this is kind of why I brought up the book Blood, Sweat, and Pixels, written by Jason Schreier, because in that book they do a really great job of kind of talking about Uncharted 4 being developed alongside The Last of Us, and kind of the shifting of developing games simultaneously at Naughty Dog and the struggle that they have with that. So again, if you want to know more about that, go check out Jason Schreier's book, Blood, Sweat, and Pixels. There's a whole chapter on Uncharted 4. But basically this Video Games Chronicles article goes on to say that, like, Naughty Dog has historically struggled to work on multiple large games simultaneously, and following the cancellation of its Last of Us Online game, it was unclear whether it'd be destined to continue focusing on a single main project, even though it insisted at the time it was planning multiple games. So Neil Druckmann was on the Press X to Continue podcast, and he reiterated that Naughty Dog is still working on at least 2 projects, and confirmed that he is producing an unannounced game alongside Intergalactic. He goes on to say, we have several directors on Intergalactic, so there are times when I'm away and the other directors are in charge, and I get to come back and be surprised and enjoy certain choices they made, and other ones I pull my hair out over and we have to change course or argue about it. He continued, then there's another game that's been worked on at Naughty Dog where I'm in more of a producer role and I get to mentor and watch this other team and give feedback and be the executive in the room. I enjoy all those roles, and the fact that I jump from one to the next makes my job very exciting and always feeling fresh. I'm never bored. So for context, the producer is more like the fixer. Like the producer is like, hey, what's the art department need? What do the engineers need? What are the, whatever, the mechanics, the story, the writers, the whatever, the sound people. Like I'm basically, as a producer, I'm there to fix the roles. Whereas with the game director, like when the heads start to roll, you're one of the first, and you might be the person who calls in the producer to help settle an argument or whatever the case may be. Druckmann's comment suggests that there are at least 2 prominent game directors that could be working on unannounced projects over at Naughty Dog. Former Naughty Dog president Evan Wells admitted back in 2021 that the studio was still struggling to fully implement a multi-project development strategy following the release of The Last of Us Part 2. The PlayStation Studio first attempted to embrace multiple projects following the completion of 2009's Uncharted 2 Among Thieves, with designers Bruce Straley and Neil Druckmann establishing a second team to create The Last of Us, alongside the groundwork that was being made on a third Uncharted game. However, Wells told Game Maker's Notebook that Naughty Dog was ultimately unable to maintain 2 full productions, with one project inevitably gaining favor and pulling resources from the other, and that it was an issue that the studio still struggled with in 2021. He goes on to say, the amount of effort that was required to finish Uncharted 3 at the time was stealing resources away from The Last of Us, and we never got to the point where we had 2 full productions going. He said, I would even say today we're just short of that. We definitely have multiple projects, but only one that is getting the lion's share of focus at any time. Finally, he says, we don't have 2 projects that have several hundred people working on them. We have one project and then some that are in pre-production or maybe just creeping out of pre-production, but we'll have to wait until the main focus has completed before we move everybody off of that project. It's a fascinating thing that they're kind of talking about here. It's this idea that, Naughty Dog just can't, split the difference. They have to keep their eyes on the prize, and that prize is one game at any given time. You could argue that this approach makes Naughty Dog the developer that they are, right? It's this idea that nobody makes games like, when it comes to triple A, big budget, action, adventure games, the reason nobody does it like Naughty Dog is because it is all hands on deck. Even when they don't want it to be, they can't help but get everybody on board to say, listen, we got to get Uncharted 3 done. Like, Last of Us, we'll figure it out. We got to get Uncharted 3 the fuck out the door, right? It's amazing because you think about, we've talked about studios like CD Projekt Red. We've talked about studios like Remedy. These companies that are constantly working on shifting people from pre-production to main development to post-production back to pre-production in like an incubation chamber. Like, they're constantly rotating people in and out, and they may be able to release games at a slightly faster pace because people are rolling from one project to another effortlessly. Now, you could argue that none of the games that Remedy and CD Projekt Red make are on the level of a Naughty Dog. I'm not here to argue one way or the other. But you've seen this with developers like Naughty Dog, with developers like Rockstar. Like, do you think anyone at Rockstar is seriously looking at a game called Red Dead Redemption 3, knowing they have to get Grand Theft Auto 6 out the door? Like, I seriously doubt it. I seriously doubt anyone's like, okay, Cowboys, we need to go back to what really matters. Cowboys, you guys worry about getting, I know you just delayed it. I know you're worried about getting Grand Theft Auto 6 out the door. I'm over here trying to figure out how we go from 400 horsepower in a car in Grand Theft Auto 6 to 1 horsepower in a horse in Red Dead Redemption 3. Like, I just don't see it. I don't see it. Also, there are no rumors suggesting that, there is significant development on a Red Dead Redemption 3 anyways. And even though Naughty Dog has said, hey, we're working on multiple games, we're trying to get other projects up and running, all the story seems to focus on is getting Last of Us 2 out the door, the remasters, the remakes of those games, the cancellation of The Last of Us Online, and the announcement of Intergalactic. Like, all of everything in Naughty Dog revolves around one single game at a time. Again, you could argue that it's what makes Naughty Dog special. You could argue that that is ultimately going to be the downfall of Naughty Dog because they are not flexible. They cannot pivot on multiple projects in a ever-changing landscape of game development. But who can say? But there is a possibility that they're working on another game, which means that maybe it won't be that long of a time between Intergalactic releasing and whatever the next Naughty Dog game is. Nintendo is coming to Gamescom. Nintendo skipped Gamescom last year, but they're going to be there this year, which makes a lot of sense. They're going to be launching a console around the time that Gamescom is happening. And Gamescom is one of the biggest gaming conventions in the world today, right? Especially with a focus on, European, countries, with a focus on Asia and countries in Asia, and just being a closer, place for a large part of the world to attend. You think about something like Summer Game Fest. Okay, Summer Game Fest happens in Los Angeles. Do you really think like folks in Japan and China and Korea and wherever are going to be super stoked about getting on a flight and flying over the Pacific for hours and hours and hours just to attend the Los Angeles Convention Center or wherever they're doing Summer Game Fest? They might be, they very well might be, but when you can get a lot more people a lot cheaper into something like Gamescom, which typically happens in Cologne, Germany, it just makes sense. It just makes sense. But also, it makes sense that they would do this considering they're going to have a console out. Now, you might be wondering, when is Gamescom? If you're like ready for Gamescom opening night live, you're right there. You're a big Jeff Keighley fan. That is going to be happening from August 20th until the 24th. And you can expect Nintendo to be there with bells on. This is a really interesting story because it caught me by surprise. A year after releasing Call of Duty Warzone Mobile, Activision has announced that they are shutting the game down. This was released in March of 2024. It came out on iOS and Android. It was co-developed with Activision Shanghai, Beenox, Digital Legends, and Solid State. And the game supported shared progression with console and PC versions of Warzone. So if you liked playing the Call of Duty Battle Royale, you could, fire it up and your Cheech and Chong and Seth Rogen and Cody Rhodes and the lady from Fallout or Lara Croft or Bruce Willis or Rambo or Michael Myers or Skeletor or whoever, they would show up in the version of Warzone that you were playing on your PlayStation 5 or your PC, and they would show up in the version of Warzone that you played on mobile. Now, the reason I find this so fascinating is because this is actually the second Call of Duty game to show up on mobile. 2019's Call of Duty Mobile is still up and running and is supported today. However, in a statement published on Friday, Activision said it had decided to end support for Warzone Mobile because it has, quote, not met our expectations with mobile-first players like it has with PC and console audiences. Effective immediately, Players will no longer be able to purchase digital currency, and no further seasonal content will be released for Warzone Mobile. From Sunday, May 18th, players will no longer be able to download the game from stores. Players who have the game installed before that date will be able to continue to play online matches. Going forward, we will be streamlining the scope of the game. The decision was made after careful consideration of various factors, and we're proud of the accomplishment in bringing Call of Duty Warzone to mobile in an authentic way. It unfortunately has not met our expectations with mobile-first players like it has with PC and console audiences. We know that this news may be disappointing, and we truly appreciate the support, passion, feedback, and dedication from our community. We have multiple incentives for Call of Duty Warzone mobile players to try Call of Duty Mobile, and we encourage those players to try it for free. So if you played a bunch of Call of Duty Warzone, you will probably get something in Call of Duty Mobile, and they recommend you play it for free because both those games are for free. But like, you think about Call of Duty as a juggernaut. You think about Call of Duty as like the biggest of the biggest. Like, it's Call of Duty, it's Fortnite, it's Grand Theft Auto Online, it's John motherfucking Madden football, right? The biggest of the biggest games. Now, I think it's maybe a little weird that Call of Duty Warzone and Call of Duty Mobile exists together as separate games, considering Warzone was the Battle Royale version of Call of Duty, but Call of Duty Mobile has a Battle Royale in it that's separate from Warzone. Very strange. I played a little bit of Warzone, and I thought it was a lot more of an authentic Call of Duty experience than Call of Duty Mobile. But if I'm going to be honest, as a Battle Royale guy, A, I'm not the biggest Battle Royale guy, but B, if I were to be playing a lot of Battle Royales on my phone, it would not be Call of Duty Warzone Mobile. Got some Xbox news. Speaking of Activision, this is crazy. This is actually really, really crazy. If you've not had a chance to check this out, this is something worth checking out. This is fucking cool. This is neat. This is kind of what a lot of people would have wanted when Activision was bought by Xbox, right? This is the thing that people would want to see happen. Xbox has announced Retro Classics, which is a new streaming service available for all Game Pass members on all tiers. Retro Classics is a collaboration between Xbox and Antstream Arcade, which is a streaming service which offers more than 1,300 retro games to play on demand. The Xbox version is going to offer more than 60 classic Activision games from the 1980s and 1990s. Those titles include Commando, Grand Prix, Kaboom, Mech Warrior 2, 31st Century Combat, and Pitfall. Now, according to Xbox, more games will be added to the service in the future, including more games from Activision and Blizzard. Eventually, they want to bring that total up to more than 100 games. Now, the Retro Classics app is available for Game Pass subscribers and features community challenges, competitive leaderboards, new challenge modes, and high score rankings. There are also Xbox achievements, as well as the ability to save players' progress and continue later. Retro Classics is available on Xbox consoles. It's available on the Xbox app on PC. It's also available on LG and Samsung smart TVs, as well as the Amazon Fire TV devices and the Meta Quest headset. So I thought it would be fun, as if I haven't been talking enough, I thought it'd be fun to run through every game that is a part of this list. I'll also tell you what console it appeared on, okay? So let's run through all 61 games that are on this list. But before we do that, I wanted to mention that to commemorate the partnership with Xbox and Antstream, Xbox Game Pass members can also access a limited time offer which lets them sign up for the full Antstream arcade catalog for $10 for their first year. This offer ends June 4th. All right, it's time to clear the throat, get some water, and let's read off the list a list of old video games. Here we go. 61 games. Let's do it. Activision prototype number 1, Atari 2600. The Adventures of Willie Beamish, Amiga. The Adventures of Willie Beamish for the Sega CD. Atlantis, Atari 2600. Atlantis 2, Atari 2600. Barnstorming, Atari 2600. Baseball, Atari 2600. Beam Rider, Atari 2600. Bloody Human Freeway, Atari 2600. Boxing, Atari 2600. Bridge, Atari 2600. Caesar 2 for the PC DOS. Checkers for the Atari 2600. Chopper Command for the Atari 2600. Commando for the Atari 2600. Conquests of the Longbow, The Legend of Robin Hood, PC DOS. Cosmic Ark, Atari 2600. Crackpots, Atari 2600. The Dagger of Amun Ra, PC DOS. Decathlon, Atari 2600. Demon Attack, Atari 2600. Dolphin, Atari 2600. Dragster, Atari 2600. Enduro, Atari 2600. Fathom, Atari 2600. Firefighter, Atari 2600. Fishing Derby, Atari 2600. Freddy Ferrick's Frontier Pharmacist, PC DOS. Freeway, Atari 2600. Frostbite, Atari 2600. Grand Prix, Atari 2600. Hero, Atari 2600. Kaboom, Atari 2600. Laser Blast, Atari 2600. Mech Warrior, SNES. Mech Warrior 2, PlayStation. Mega Mania, Atari 2600. Pitfall, Atari 2600. Pitfall 2, Lost Caverns, Atari 2600. Police Quest, Amiga. Pressure Cooker, Atari 2600. Quest for Glory 1, PC DOS. Riddle of the Sphinx, Atari 2600. River Raid, Atari 2600. River Raid 2, Atari 2600. Robot Tank, Atari 2600. Skyjinx, Atari 2600. Space Quest 2, Amiga. Space Quest 6, Roger Wilco in the Spinal Frontier, PC DOS. Space Treat Deluxe, Atari 2600. Spider Fighter, Atari 2600. There's a game called Spider Fighter. Star Voyager, Atari 2600. Tennis, Atari 2600. The Walker, Atari 2600. Title Match Pro Wrestling, Atari 2600. Torrance Passage, PC DOS. Trick Shot, Atari 2600. Vault Assault, Atari 2600. Venetian Blinds, Atari 2600. Zork 1, PC DOS, and Zork 0, PC DOS. What is Venetian Blinds? I'm going to type in Venetian Blinds game into the internet. That can't be it. No. Is it a game where you simulate? Hold on. Wikipedia. Venetian Blinds is a simulation video game developed by Activision for the Atari 2600. The game simulates the raising and lowering of Venetian blinds on a window and was fictitiously presented as a technology demonstration of graphical programming of the same name, although it does not use the technique. Gameplay. This is on the Wikipedia page for Venetian Blinds. The player controls gray Venetian blinds on an olive window in a brown room. The blinds can be raised and lowered by pressing the joystick up and down. When the blinds are raised, they reveal a detailed sunset behind a green valley. In the bottom left corner of the screen is the Activision logo, a feature of most Activision games of the era. What? You raise and lower the blinds. That's the game. That's the game. That's it. Can I play this game somewhere? Like, I guess I can play. Well, yeah, of course I can play it somewhere. I can play it as part of the their new retro thingy, whatever they called it. I already forgot the name of the thing. What's it called? Retro Classics. I'll type in Venetian Blinds into my phone. Please hold. Your call is really important to us. Is it available on phone? I feel like that'd be a good place to play Venetian Venetian Blinds. No, you cannot. Well, then, I'll tell you what. I mean, listen, they got some games, man. I mean, people love Kaboom. People love Pitfall. You know, Zork. I didn't know Venetian Blinds was a real thing. Okay, well then. We are so close to being done in the news. Stick with me here. I got 2 more news stories. These are video game movie news. Netflix's Gears of War movie reportedly lands the Fall Guy and Bullet Train director David Leitch. Now, the film was first announced in 2022, and Leitch's production company, 87 North, will help produce the feature alongside Gears developer The Coalition. Leitch's other directorial credits include Deadpool 2, which is a good movie, The Fast and Furious Presents Hobbs and Shaw, which is a terrible movie, and Atomic Blonde, which is a movie I've never seen. Netflix's Gears of War movie already has Dune screenwriter John Spaeths attached as the scriptwriter, but there have been no casting announcements since the film is likely still a ways out. Netflix is also creating an adult animated series based on Gears of War, which will release after the live-action film. If you don't know this, Dave Bautista has been out there campaigning to be in this Gears of War movie. He wants to play Marcus Phoenix in a live-action Gears of War movie. I'm sure he would lend his voice to be Marcus Phoenix in an animated series, but he wants to play Marcus Phoenix. It's not going to win him an Oscar. I would love to see Dave Bautista win an Oscar one of these days. I say let the man cook. Let him play Marcus Phoenix if he wants to. This final news story is coming from Deadline. I'm going to read you the headline. Andrew Koji, Jason Momoa, Noah Centineo, and Roman Reigns are in talks for Legendary's Street Fighter movie. If you don't know Andrew Koji from Bullet Train, Jason Momoa from Minecraft, Noah Centineo was in Warfare, and Roman Reigns was in The Fast and Furious Presents Hobbs and Shaw, are all in talks to star in Legendary's live-action Street Fighter movie based on the Capcom video game. Reps for the studio declined to comment, and the plot of the film remains under wraps. However, in February, Bad Trip's Kitao Sakura boarded as director, inheriting the project from Talk to Me's Danny and Michael Philippou, I'm butchering those names, who attached themselves in April of 2023 following Legendary's acquisition of the exclusive film and TV rights to Street Fighter. And they go on to say whatever, WWE this, Roman Reigns, tribal chief that, whatever. My question is, I'm going to type in Street Fighter characters into my computer. Who the fuck is Roman Reigns going to play? Like, don't get me wrong. Wrestlers are really, really good at looking like video game characters, right? They're these crazy looking whatever. But who the hell is Roman Reigns seriously going to play? You think about Andrew Koji. You could see a scenario where he is Ryu. Jason Momoa? This is going to sound crazy. I could see Jason Momoa being a Blanca. I know. I could see Jason Momoa being a Blanca. I just don't know who you would have Roman Reigns play. I'm going to type in who would Roman Reigns play in a Street Fighter movie into Google. And I'm going to see if anyone has suggested who he would play as. Also, this is a reminder that I should go watch that original Street Fighter movie with Jean-Claude Van Damme in it. Who would he play? I am drawing a blank on who Roman. I'm not a huge Street Fighter guy, in fairness, but who could he possibly play? People are suggesting Roman Reigns as Akuma. Yeah, I could see him. I could see him be Akuma. I could maybe see Roman Reigns as Akuma. Some people are saying E Honda. E Honda's a little too wide. A little too wide. He could. I don't think Roman Reigns could be Ken. I don't think so. I think Jason Momoa is probably better off being Blanca than Roman Reigns. That's such a strange one. I'll tell you what. I'll let this marinate, and if I come up with anything, I'll let you know. But Andrew Koji, Jason Momoa, Noah Centineo, and Roman Reigns in talks for Street Fighter, the movie. That's it for news. We made it. We survived. We might as well just keep on rolling and talk about the games that I've been playing. I've been playing Doom the Dark Ages. You can check out a video of me playing Doom the Dark Ages over on my YouTube channel if you just want to get a taste of that gameplay, that style of what Doom the Dark Ages is going for. The problem I have is kind of wrestling with how I feel about Doom the Dark Ages. Doom the Dark Ages is a good game. As I'm actually kind of having this trouble with a couple of different games. We're like, objectively, these games are good. Like Doom the Dark Ages is a solid game. In fact, I would even say that Doom the Dark Ages is a better game than Doom Eternal, right? It's this idea that like by having Doom the Dark Ages be a prequel set in these kind of dark ages, medieval times, you can slow down the story, you can slow down some of the combat and really just get a very meaty, chunky, kind of combat experience in that Doom style. So the way that it works is the game is a much more melee focused first person shooter than past Doom games. You get a shield. You can use that shield to basically dash and bash into enemies. So even from a pretty good distance, you can just lock onto an enemy and just ram your shield through them. You also have the ability to throw your shield in a like Captain America-esque way with your enemies. And then the final thing that you can do is you can also parry attacks. So there's sometimes where the demons, the enemies are shooting red projectiles at you. You could block those projectiles, but the green projectiles, you can adjust the color if you want to, but the green projectiles you can actually parry and send back to the demons. You combine that with a melee attack that you use to regain ammo. You also combine that with the handful of different guns and their different firing and abilities. And what you have is a slower and more deliberate game than something like Doom Eternal. But it is not a slow game, so to speak. The combat can still feel fairly chaotic, fairly hectic, and fairly fast-paced as you're dodging and punching and shield throwing and shield bashing and parrying and blocking various enemy attacks as you go through it. And I think the thing for me is like on paper, this game is awesome. In practice, I think it's just okay. Like maybe it's a scenario where too much too soon, even though like Doom Eternal came out a handful of years ago. At this point, I still am like sitting there being like, yeah, this feels like the third game in their modern style of Doom games, and it maybe hasn't immediately grabbed me the way that Doom 2016 did, or even Doom Eternal to some extent. Like Doom Eternal, I was like, fuck, I just want more Doom. Give it to me. And they gave it to me. And by the time I was done with it, I was like, I think I'm kind of done with Doom for a little bit. With Doom the Dark Ages, they said, hey, we've heard you. You don't want to be running and jumping and dashing and doing all this crazy acrobatic shit, or have a combat system that is very, very strict about what weapons to use on what enemies, on what weak points. Like they said, you want your creativity, you want your freedom back, here you go. And with their, the changes to the formula they applied on top of that. And I guess I'm just kind of walking, away from my initial impression with Doom the Dark Ages thinking, yeah, this works. It's better than, and it's less obnoxious than Doom Eternal. They have added a couple of things. I haven't seen all of the new things they've added to the game, but one of the things that they added is this giant mech. It's like a giant, like Pacific Rim sort of mech that you are using in select levels. And it's this, really crazy sense of scale of like, oh, the bridge that I walked across to get to the mech now looks super tiny. The enemies are super minuscule. And now I am punching giant, Godzilla sized demons in this, great, huge battle that's taking place in Doom, the Dark Ages. It's cool. It breaks up the flow a little bit, though I've been told that there's quite a few sequences like that in the game. I wonder if it would get distracting or tiring as we went along. The other thing I would say is there is a much larger sense of story in Doom the Dark Ages, a much larger sense of story that so far is doing nothing for me. Like, here's the big thing. You're in this planet, and these humans are fighting the demons, and it's a mix of sci-fi and fantasy. So you have these sentinels that have guns, but like knight armor and all of this stuff. And basically these like makers, these like religious people are controlling the Doom guy. And it's almost like RoboCop, where they send him out to do dirt when they need him to, but then they always retract him. He's always on a short leash. So like people are constantly controlling the Doom guy, but using him as a problem solver when they need it to. And I think the story is very much going to focus on him kind of taking control and being a little more independent and getting rid of the control that those people have. Because it's like there's like the human people that are like fighting the demons. There's these like religious people that control the Doom guy, and then there's like the demons, and there's like this Prince Azaric guy who's trying to find some secret, hidden ancient evil relic that will make him a more ancient evil guy and make him more powerful and all of that stuff. They do a lot to try to explain, why the Doom guy is the way he is and how he ended up in Doom 2016. But to be honest, I think that there was something to the economy of words and the simplicity in the story in Doom 2016 that made it more effective. I feel like the more they answer the questions I would have had coming out of Doom Eternal, or that tie this game back to Doom 2016, the less I'm interested in the story that they're telling, and almost wish they never committed to overcomplicating what was otherwise. Doom guy is a badass. He will do whatever you need him to do to kill the demons, and that's it. You can try to explain why the demons showed up and why he's fighting them and all this stuff, but like, I don't need to know that he was like a RoboCop-esque character being controlled by these religious people that, may become influenced by the demons as the demons decide that they should, kind of manipulate and mind control some of the people that are the humans. And I don't need it. I don't need it. But I'm going to play some more of it, and I'll have probably more to say about the gameplay and some of the other changes. So far, Doom the Dark Ages seems decent, but it has not grabbed me. And I would say the same thing about Expedition 33. If you've not been following along, head over to my YouTube channel and check out 33andMe, my complete playthrough of Expedition 33 that's happening every Friday morning over on YouTube. I've been playing some Expedition 33, that's Clair Obscur Expedition 33. And again, it's a scenario where, turn-based RPG, very similar to something like the Stick of Truth in its timing of button presses with the turn-based combat. Gorgeous art style, cool look, decent soundtrack, neat idea. And again, none of it is necessarily immediately grabbing me. If I have not explained it before, I'll take the opportunity to explain it now. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is a game where in like this fictional world of France, there is this character called the Paintress who every year kills people at a certain age. So you might hit your 40th birthday and there's nothing you can do about it. The Paintress is going to kill everybody that turned 40 that year. Then the next year it's 39 and 38 and so on and so forth. But there are people that are sick of being killed by the Paintress, and before their birthday comes around, they decide to go on these expeditions named after the year that everybody's going to die at and try to enter this world controlled by the Paintress, set sail on this adventure, find the Paintress, and kill her. And what you've discovered is that you send all these people to this adventure and nobody ever comes back. Everybody dies. Nobody seems to get to the Paintress to stop her from killing people once they hit their 34th birthday or whatever. So this game is about Expedition 33, the 33 team that go in to this land to fight and kill and stop the Paintress. And as you kind of go through it, you discover, oh, maybe there are some people here that are much older than 33, and why aren't they dead? Or what's going on in this environment? What are these monsters? What are these creatures? And I think, maybe me not being the biggest turn-based kind of JRPG guy, I am left wondering what it is about Expedition 33 that's supposed to immediately grab me besides sheer competency. Like, it's not a bad game. It plays well. It looks decent. It runs well. I don't have a lot of technical problems with it. I'm just kind of left wondering, so when does the story grab me by the heartstrings? When do I fall in love with these characters the way other people are describing it? I'm not here to tell you that Expedition 33 is an overrated game, but I keep coming to this game being when is it going to click for me the way it has for other people? And I'm a handful of hours in and it just hasn't happened yet. So I'm going to keep playing it. I'm in, with logical fallacies being what it is. I'm in too deep to quit now. So I'm going to keep going and hopefully I have some fun with Expedition 33. It's not a bad game. And if you like those turn-based RPGs, you're probably going to really like this game. But for me, I'm someone who is okay at okay when it comes to those games and is willing to give myself to one of those games and enjoy it. It just hasn't immediately grabbed me, though I don't think it's bad either. But this is where, maybe everything comes together for your boy GnittWitt, because regardless of when a game came out, whenever a game came out, if I were to tell you, honestly, what is the most fun I have had with a video game in 2025, it is, without a doubt, Fortnite. I have loved my time getting into Fortnite as of late. And I think for a lot of people, there's a good reason to dislike Fortnite. I never argue with someone about why they don't like Fortnite, why Fortnite isn't appealing. I totally get it. The only thing that I have with people that maybe say they don't like Fortnite or anything like that is, well, if you haven't played Fortnite in a long time, you may not be sure about what that game is these days, right? You think about the Battle Royale mode in Fortnite. They have taken away building. So if you just want to run around and collect weapons and do quests and do stuff in that open world and shoot people, you do not have to build any structure. There's a mode called no build mode that you can play without ever building anything. You can still gather resources and use those resources to trade in for upgraded weapons and do stuff in the environment. But if you don't like the idea of building in Fortnite, they've completely removed it. It is the most popular mode in the game now, and you can play Fortnite no build Battle Royale mode and have a great time. But there's so much more to Fortnite in terms of what game modes are available. A lot of people play the Rock Band mode. It's called Fortnite Main Stage. Main Festival, Main Stage. And what it is they've implemented a free-to-play version of Rock Band into Fortnite. My understanding is that it supports controllers, but I've been playing it purely on my like guitar controllers and stuff like that. I've been purely playing it on my handheld regular console controller. And what that means is there's a variety of songs to choose from. They're kind of a rotating list of songs in the game. You can buy songs to permanently unlock them if you want to, or you can just play whatever songs are currently available in Fortnite. But the way the Rock Band mode works is really simple. You can play by yourself, or you can play with other people online. And what you do is you choose a song. You can make a set list. There are 4 slots in a set list for you to add songs to. You pick the difficulty of the song in terms of, I want to play this song on medium or hard or whatever. You pick what instrument you're playing. Do you want to do the vocals? Do you want to do the bass, the guitar, the drums, the piano, whatever? And then you just play pretty much normal ass rock band. The only difference is that when you pick vocals, there is no singing. So you are instead tapping out the notes to the song with your controller. Same as you would if you were playing bass or guitar. Like in Rock Band originally, you were actually singing the notes. In this, it doesn't seem to support singing, so you instead just tap out the notes as you would. But that's a ton of fun. That's like totally fun to be like, fuck it, we're going to play the Sabrina Carpenter song. We're going to play fucking Lynyrd Skynyrd Freebird on the guitar and have a good time instead of shooting people in Fortnite or whatever else. You can earn a lot of stuff that's exclusive as part of playing the Rock Band mode. So they very much incentivize you, just as they would incentivize you with upgrades and unlocks and stuff in the Battle Royale mode. There's plenty of stuff to unlock as part of the multiplayer or single player Rock Band mode as well. And if you're someone who's looking for like a cozy game, if you want to like build and craft and just kind of chill out without too much combat, they also have the Lego survival mode in Fortnite, which is like a farming, chill survival thing on top of everything else. Like there's so much shit to do in Fortnite that there's probably something for everyone. Again, I totally get it if the initial appeal is not do anything for you, but there is so much to Fortnite, both from what Epic Games have made themselves and what the community has made. I've been spending a lot of time playing a zombie survival game in Fortnite where it's you and up to 3 other people, kind of in an environment surviving wave after wave of zombies. Like if you played the zombies mode from like Call of Duty, but figured you wanted something a little bit different, there's totally this in Fortnite. And again, it is absolutely free, made by the community, and it's currently part of their sponsored Walking Dead content. Like there's a whole section of the game that's just like Walking Dead modes that the community has made based on the Walking Dead. So there's like a zombie survival and all of this other stuff. The main thing going on in Fortnite right now is Star Wars. They have replaced all of the weapons in the main Fortnite Battle Royale mode with everything Star Wars. The Battle Pass is all focused on Star Wars. The main the final unlock in the Battle Pass is the Emperor, kind of like I mentioned. There are drivable TIE fighters and X-Wings. You can find Luke Skywalker and Poe Dameron and Princess Leia and Han Solo and General Grievous and Mace Windu and Darth Maul and all of these characters in the Fortnite environment during the Battle Royale, and those will allow you to take on quests. You can get a lightsaber, you can upgrade your weapons and do all of this stuff during the Battle Pass, which has been a ton of fun. I think the Battle Royale multiplayer mode in Fortnite is fine, but there is so much stuff that you can do as a single player, whether that be the Lego survival or whether that be the Rock Band stuff. There is something for everyone in Fortnite, and I appreciate how dumb Fortnite is. Like, to me, I get a kick out of playing the game as Sabrina Carpenter, doing the John Cena "You Can't See Me" like dance emote that triggers the music from The Time Is Now in front of somebody dressed as Peter Griffin from Family Guy. Like it's just so dumb. If you saw the movie Ready Player One, like this is pretty much as close to Ready Player One as we're going to get. And yes, there's a lot of money you can spend. They have figured out all ways to manipulate you into spending money and doing that stuff if you want to. But as a free game, I think the core of what's there is decent. I think the things on the edges of Fortnite are fascinating. And if you haven't had a chance to play it or you haven't played it in a while, I got to be honest, Fortnite is some of the most fun that I've had this year. And I don't know if it's going to slow down anytime soon because I'm having such a blast with that game. When we return next week, I will probably have a little bit more to say about Expedition 33. I'll probably have a little bit more to say about Doom the Dark Ages, and there is a chance that I'll have even more to say about Fortnite next week. Make sure to check out the YouTube channel. I got a game glimpse of Doom the Dark Ages up on the channel now. I got videos on Expedition 33, my playthrough of Expedition 33, and I have so much more up on that YouTube channel, so check that out if you haven't had a chance to do so. I have been GnittWitt. You can find everything that I do over at my Linktree, linktree.com/GnittWitt, GnittWitt. We will see you all next week for more Glitch Report, but until then, enjoy whatever games you're playing, have some fun, and we'll see you next week. Take it easy.